What is up, everyone? Today, we're going to do a full review of the recent Langrisser mobile game. Now, despite its rather troubled launch, this game, as an actual game, is actually pretty decent. Therefore, I want to review Langrisser to give it a fair chance. Now, let's begin with a bit of a history lesson. So, once upon a time, there was a game called Warsong, an ancient relic at this point, which ran parallel to the first Fire Emblem in the 90s. That game eventually became Langrisser, and it was praised for its tactical warfare hero-style controls similar to Fire Emblem, and had the unit control of Famicom Wars. And, if you were to dig deeper, you'll find that Langrisser even had a prequel, dating back in 1987, like 3 years before Fire Emblem even came out, called Elflet Senshi, and its sequel, Crest of Gaia, which came out a year later on the NEX PC-88. Now, these games depicted Sieghardt's battles against Bazir, also known as Basel for the power of Gaia, which served as the backstory of the original Langrisser. So yeah, this dude Basel has been around for quite some time, much like his pal Jessica. They're recurring characters very much like Anna from Fire Emblem. Unfortunately, though, time was not kind for the series. At the turn of the new millennia, Langrisser Millennium came out, and it bombed completely. Stripping everything that was Langrisser, including the art, it was Langrisser in name only, and that was enough to drag the series in the mud. The 3DS Langrisser that came out a couple years later, called Reincarnation, didn't fare much better either, and so the series was pretty much irrelevant since the early 2000s. Up until now, anyway, when Zilong Games decides to acquire the franchise with Langrisser Mobile. And with their resources, they somehow got Noriyuki Wadari back to make their music, the game musics. Yeah, the guy who made musics for the older Langrisser games, and also things like Phoenix Wright Attorney games, my personal favorite classic Wing Commander, and even some work in the very recent Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The man has a long list of repertoire. This dude is quite the heavyweight in the industry, and when you add full voice acting, both Japanese and English, into the mix, suddenly this game looks and feels like an actual game. And I thought I was impressed with Dragalia Ross. Sheesh. Like, okay, take Basel for example. He's voiced by Toshiyuki Morikawa. The dude voiced Griffith from Berserk. Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Japanese version. Kaname Tosen and Ichigo's dad from Bleach. Alexander Volksangi from Hajime no Ippo. This guy's been around, and I mean, they managed to pull him. And guys like Norio Wakamoto, who voices Cell, do voice work for this thing, so you know that this crazy Chinese company really isn't messing around. Even the character portraits are great too. Say what you will about 90s art, but they are pretty well drawn, and they're even animated and lifelike in this game instead of just picture stills. I actually animated a custom character portrait myself for Donbai in Romance of Three Kingdoms before, and let me tell you, that was an annoying experience for something so small, so they definitely went the extra mile for this game. Now, I apologize for kind of going off the rail here, but as you can see, this game isn't merely some Fire Emblem clone. But for the sake of making it easier to understand, it's definitely more Fire Emblem than Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, so let's discuss the meat of this video, the gameplay. And joining with me for this part will be my buddy Burke, who I've invited to play this game with me. And he loves it! Probably more than me, since he's already so far in. I'm just kind of like snailing behind. So Burke, what do you think about strategy games? Like, what is it that makes a strategy game, and what sets this game apart from the others?
I mean, a strategy game just gets me thinking. That's by far the most important thing. If a game is purely auto battle, I mean, if you're grinding, that's fine. You just press auto battle, whatever. But if I want to be really having fun, I want to be engaged, I want to be thinking, this style of combat, like the Fire Emblem games and the same gameplay that Langrisser has here, makes you think. Makes you think about the interactions, how the enemy is going to approach you, how you should set up your formations in advance to anticipate that. That is why I like the Fire Emblem series, why I've played just about every game that I can easily get access to, and why I like this game. The core combat is just very engaging and makes me think. In particular here, though, there's a lot of very interesting and unique passive abilities and synergistic combinations with different units and skills that make it even more challenging and even more interesting to me. And we can get into some of those later in some gameplay, but just if you've looked at some of the skills on the units, there's so many different things you can do. Teleport, I'll just start off with, is probably my favorite skill.
Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting things. They added a lot of detail to this game. Like, there are some interesting things like an extended class systems with a decently large evolution tree, which allows for a character to perform different roles. Like, you know how spears are good against cavalry? Well, say my starting swordsman, Matthew, he's weak against them. However, if he were to switch to a class that allows for spear soldiers, he can have these spear soldiers that will fight alongside of him, and as he levels up, he can have these spear soldiers that'll have unique talents that they gain as well. I find this really, really awesome, because how combat works in this game is that your soldiers attack and get attacked first, and then your hero gets to participate. So what ends up happening is that the Lancer acts as a shield for Matt, protecting him from something otherwise that would hurt him bad. You have to go through the soldiers. The HP is based like this. You have to go through the soldiers' HP first before you can actually damage the heroes. And each hero has a wide array of soldiers they can have serving under them thanks to this class system, which is impressively deep for a mobile cell phone game. I mean, never mind all that soldier stuff. Fire Emblem Heroes doesn't even have class changes. They just release alts of different characters. Here, things are a bit different. Maybe it's because they don't have that many heroes, or maybe it's because they're slower in releasing new heroes, but they're really aiming for you to max out the current characters you have. Like regular R units, those 3-star units, comparable 3-star units that you would find in other games. They have their uses, and when maxed out, they're actually quite capable in combat. Some even matching SSR or 5-star units, as an example. I mean, hell, even with the starter units, Matthew, Grenier, Almeida, they can literally become SSR units, and with a ton of power. As a result, I believe that power creep comes rather slow for this game. No, the main source of power is to build around faction buffs or make crazy combinations with your characters based on these skills. So say for example, this is really basic. One of our starting character, Grenier, has Guard. It's a really good skill that allows him to automatically defend attacks against nearby allies. This is absolutely awesome, by the way, and is how tanks in games supposed to be played. You know, actually soaking damage rather than the enemy just completely ignoring them. But this is just the basic. You can go even further beyond. So Burke, why don't you tell us a little bit about that crazy strategy you have with that SR unit, Freya, and with a healer?
Yes, so Freya is what you were just describing, but I would say more like a porcupine. She will poke back at you, and her entire kit is built around guarding or taunting an attack, and then doing this non-combat damage to the enemy to inflict her own damage. That is how she's built, and her biggest weakness is that a lot of or two of them, I think, have HP thresholds, and she can get hit, and then, well, then her 2 of them are gone, she only has the 1 left. But if you bring a healer who can heal up her back to the 50% on her troops, she will keep getting the triple barb in, and it does a lot of damage. It actually ignores the weapon triangle. So, the example that I have here is with Tiaris, who, yes, admittedly is probably the best healer in the game. She's extremely strong, but you can see that when you can keep Freya up high, she can just continue to, poke away while baiting all the attacks coming in, and even her talent one will go off before combat. So if the enemy's at like 1 HP or very low, then they're just dead. There's unless they can negate a passive, there's nothing they can do. It hits at any range, so a weak enemy is never going to be able to kill a Freya. Now, for anyone thinking, okay, that's great, but if you need someone like Tiaris to make this work, that's not that great. There is, I believe, another strategy, and I can't test it because the other healer's skill for this is in the 3rd tree, and I'm not at that level yet. But I believe the SR, Sophia, will enable the exact same strategy because she has a heal that will heal 10% max HP after every battle. So assuming that works, and someone that's, I don't know if anyone's 30 plus, 35 plus can test it yet, but it should work the same, which would give many more players access to this type of strategy with Freya that do not have the 1 SSR Tiaris. So it's a very good strategy. It's fun. This is the kind of strategy I like playing too, where I'm in control. I can protect my healers. I can, instead of having a choke point where I have to, block everything off, I just have to throw them next to Freya, and she's going to protect them and do damage at the same time. And it's just a great synergistic combination.
That's actually really scary. I think you can actually pull this off with the, even with Almeida, to be honest. I mean, yeah, she's going to be closer, but you can at least do it outside of the, I mean, she'll be within range of attack, but, during the cooldown of which guard is active, I'm sure you can still use Almeida for a healer. So I mean, this strategy will probably still work. It just won't work every turn like it would with Tiaris. Still very, very scary stuff. The fact that this out of combat damage can kill you is already too much for me. As you can see, every unit has their uses, and then we add another dimension: the terrains. Like, different terrains confers different advantages on the field. Forest gives more defense. City walls gives even more. Lobsters, they fight much better in the water, etc, etc. Now, when you look at Fire Emblem Heroes, you only have like a couple that does anything. I mean, like, I guess there's a defense terrain, there's a thing that keeps horses from going in extra space, but that's about it. But wait! Because our battlefield are much bigger, there are even more fun and exciting ways to circumvent these terrains. So Burke, why don't you go and tell us about that teleport nonsense you were telling us before?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that my favorite skill is teleport. It reminds me of the Warp Staff in Fire Emblem. I love Warp Staff. I love teleporting around. The things you can do by just moving your character that far. Having Jessica have teleport, who you can easily merge up for stars, is great. So another thing that I like to combine these things is I like looting chests. So there are maps that come up in the game where the objective is actually to just reach a chest. The map here has what you'd think would be a bridge down below that looks open, but having run this many times, if you try to go south, and you'll see as it comes up, these other enemies are there. So I decided, because I like using teleport, and I like getting the chests, I'm going to end up maximizing my possible mobility and get there without having to fight. So the idea here is I increase my mobility with the passive, and then I teleport out Diehard, who can then use his extra skill to move more spaces. And as you see, after the first setup, he's way across the map, all the way on the right. I picked a bunch of flyers so they could go hide in the corner, and I just ran over to the chest. Winning a map in this kind of strategy is very satisfying to me. So I'm sure there are others out there that like looting chests that will, if they played Fire Emblem games where they put chests and there's like traps, there's a rogue trying to steal it, or there's a whole bunch of things out there, they would just do everything they can to get that chest. That's how I play. So when I see maps like this, I will do everything to get to that chest as soon as I possibly can.
Indeed, indeed. See, Jessica is an R character. You can get her for free in the story. So yeah, you too can participate in this broken nonsense as a free player. Oh, and have I mentioned that she too can do top tier damage in PvP as the sole user of that dreaded meteor spell. So, I can't emphasize enough how much I like this game at its current state, because you don't have to spend a dime to enjoy the content. And the idea that I can roll for just heroes and equipment separate instead of having a mix summon like Dragalia Lost and their Worm Prince makes this even better for me. I mean, sure, yeah, PvP is probably eventually going to be full of whales or whatever, but a ranking board is a silly thing. It means next to nothing to most people. And with a little bit of extra strategy, you might even be able to kill some of these people. That is the beauty of a strategy game, after all. Now, that being said, another fun aspect that this game has that lack is the true multiplayer. You literally could co-op with someone to do maps. A co-op strategy game. You can play with your friends, some random strangers, or even start a guild to do all these sorts of stuff. You can even PvP with people live. This is like on release. You have all this stuff on release. So this game is not lacking in terms of multiplayer. Co-op is also very worthwhile too. When doing any Secret Realm content in Team Co-op, the stamina cost is always reduced. You still get the same Team EXP. In addition though, Team Co-op with 2 randoms will net you 2 extra rewards. So, you know, it's really rewarding. I feel like they're really hoping for you to go and group up with other people. When doing it with Guild and Friends though, you get 4 extra rewards. So, you know, it encourages you to team up with randoms, make them your friends, and then group up with them again. Then you get more rewards. So it really pushes you to do co-op. It's a good thing. It is a great thing. Co-op in a strategy game. I don't think I've seen this in the way that this game presents before. And finally, for people who are interested in lore and simply loot, there is the Time Rift, which is basically the history mode, or chronicle mode, whatever you call it, that replace events from the previous Langrisser games. So in a way, you're also kind of getting the old Langrisser experience as well. So Burke, tell us more about this mode, in particular your thoughts on your keen sense of treasure hunting and the wonderful sweep features.
Yeah, I opened this mode and I was like, okay, I'm excited to see some of the history because I came in with very little. But the first thing that caught my eye was a hidden chest. And I saw hidden chest and I thought, wait, hidden chest? So I'm not just going to scroll on the map and find a chest over there where I have to go race for it. Because that's how I'm used to playing. You know, there's a chest, I got to figure out the best strategy to get there and I'll do whatever it takes. But no, this was a hidden chest. So I go in and I, do a quick scroll and I'm like, okay, I don't see a chest. Oh, it's hidden, that's right. Okay, let me look harder. And after doing a bunch of these, so far they've been pretty good. They're not, you're not going to sit there for, I remember on like the Fire Emblem old ones with those secret shops, it's like you could have to spend hours trying to like just land on a random square. It's not like that, it's not that frustrating. But if you spend a minute or two, or look, 5 minutes maybe, even if you're not able to see it, you'll find these chests. And that's something that was exciting to me, was that each time I load up the map on a new one, the first thing I look for is the hidden chest. So that will resonate with some people, I'm sure, that like looting things. And then getting back to the actual gameplay, each of these seems to have, or at least the bigger nodes, the little ones appear to be not story related, but the bigger ones are. They'll give you a little mini story arc from the games. And I kind of enjoyed seeing the progression through. I think, close to finishing the 3rd one now, and it's, I believe, the end of the first arc. So I'm about to finish the first complete story, and it's been pretty cool to be able to experience that in a condensed version without having to actually play. It might actually make me want to go play the original game now, seeing how strong the story is and the characters. And the music also. The music is very good in these. So, yeah, there's not too much negative, really, about this mode. It's been a lot of fun. It's good to introduce newer players to some history, and if you like looting chests, you'll enjoy it. The chests also have very good things in them. A lot of summon tickets in these.
Indeed. And then there's also that sweep feature, which saves us a lot of time. It's like, as long as you get 3 stars on a map, you'll be able to just keep replaying it without actually playing it. So you save time using your stamina, and this will help people who actually, use their phone. They're busy, they can't spend all their time on their phone. Like me, for example, I can't always spend my time on game, so I'll just use sweep, hit it a couple times, and then get a bunch of rewards just like that, and use up my stamina. I mean, it's not like the most efficient way, but it is there. It's like a free... If I were to put it in a good comparison, it's like a free skip ticket in Dragalia Lost. You basically just skip the map, don't have to play it, and you still get the rewards. Really nice stuff. I really love this feature, and it's not even tied to an item that you have to pay for or anything like that. It's just there. As long as you complete the map with all the objectives cleared, it's there for you. Anyway, so you think there's anything else you want to add before we go?
I think that's about it. I want to say that in general, the UI is excellent in this game. You were just mentioning with the time rifts. I've really liked the UI where you're looking at a character and you want to promote them, and let's say you need some scrolls, whatever the item is. If you click on that item, it will tell you where you need to go. So let's say I needed some scroll. It would say, all right, go to time rift 2-1. And you click on that, it will take you there. You can then, as you said, sweep. You don't even have to go through it. You just sweep for the item, and then as you sweep, it actually knows how many of those items you needed for that character. So it'll say, you need 2 more, you need 1 more, and it's showing it to you as you go, so you can do it exactly the number of times you need to get that item. And then when you hit back, you go right back into the character profile where you're trying to promote, and you can do it. So it's just an example of the polish, I think, that goes into the UI here, and how they really played through it and anticipated what people might want to do, because I could not have asked for a more simplistic and efficient system for promoting than that. Oh, I need this item. Oh, this takes me right there. I do it exactly the number of times I need. I go back and promote.
Well, just to add to a little bit of what you just said, I think that the skin system in the shop is really awesome. Now, I'm not trying to sell the skins by themselves or anything like that. I just like the idea that alts came in skins rather than entirely new character. Can you imagine, like, investing everything on your characters, you know, going through all the classes and all that stuff like that, and all of a sudden, hey, a new character just appeared, of the same character that you had, except they're wearing, I don't know, Christmas clothing, or a bath towel, or something like that. Well, now you can just buy a skin, and your investments from previously would still be there. I think that's quite important, considering the deep upgrade system that this game has. I would like it a lot if my investments are protected. So the skin system is really nice. I know it's not like new or anything, but for a game like this, especially where there's a lot of love that you have to put into a unit, this is a great thing for the game. Like, say, a game that releases a million alts of the same character and your previous investments don't mean anything to them. Yeah, this is good. That's about all the time we have for today. So like I said earlier, give this game a chance. You might find yourself pleasantly surprised. Be sure to check the links below in the description on how to get the game if you hadn't already. I thank you all for watching. Until next time.